up, everybody? It's Logan looking at you with another T-Rex Talents video. Today, we're going to make something. I was commissioned by ClownLife Arts to make something for their new clown variety show called Honk. They wanted me to make 2 EVA foam nurses hats. That EVA foam, of course, was brought to you by the FOAMORY. Beginning as a one-man production by Jimmy DeRay, ClownLife Arts quickly expanded into a collective of quirky, talented performers, with performances ranging from classic clown balloon animals and juggling to twisted freak show acts. And as the ClownLife Arts collective grew, the popularity grew. They then began doing variety shows where they needed props built, such as the ones I'm building today. Here's the tools and materials that I use: thick mixed media paper and a pencil, a silver marker, cutting tools from COS-TOOLS, and a Hobby Lobby X-Acto knife, masking tape, painter's tape, a Surebonder dual temp hot glue gun and hot glue sticks, a dual temp heat gun, a Dremel rotary tool, a 1-inch mop brush and a 1-inch flat brush, filbert paint brushes in 11, 4, and 3, acrylic paints in white, Atlantis, candy apple red, and metallic silver sterling, high density EVA foam, high density EVA foam clay, and a Dollar Tree dust mask. First step of prop making is to make a template or a pattern. I use my mixed media sketch pad because the paper is similar to cardstock. Cereal boxes are also great for this. I started by folding my paper horizontally about an inch or 2 from the bottom. Then I flipped it over and I folded the top corners in towards the middle, towards the bottom, making sort of a triangle shape. At this point, it almost looks like a paper boat, but you gotta trust the process. It'll look like a nurse's hat, I promise. Then, after seeing how far I wanted the top of the hat to come down, I folded the center point down to the middle. I did refold it a couple times, but that's okay. This is the point in the build where it's okay to refold and rethink your process. I made sure to fold everything so the creases were very prominent. Then once I liked everything, I unfolded my template. Then I took a metal ruler and a pencil and I marked where all the folded lines were so I could see them better. Then I also wrote fold back and fold forward on the parts where you fold back and fold forward, just for my own benefit. This is also the point where you basically want to piece everything together with pieces of tape and just see how everything is fitting together. This is also when you can put in your lines to make sure that everything lines up properly on your template, and then it transfers over when you actually do your build. This assures that your foam lines up the right way. So this is just a little paper mock-up, and we can see how our future build is going to look. Once again, I unfolded it all and I laid it down on my foam. I had to hold down one side with my carpenter square, still saving up for 1, 2, 3 blocks as weights. And then I traced out the piece of paper onto my foam. With a more complex build, you would be tracing out a different shape, not just an actual piece of paper. But for this, it is super simple. Then with COS-TOOLS freestyle cutter, I cut it out. I recommend their box cutter or straight edge cutter for cuts like this, but the freestyle cutter is smaller and fits in my hand better. I didn't get footage of it, but I made these cross patterns by using masking tape and the lines on my cutting mat. Then I just stuck the tape onto thicker paper. I traced them onto 3 or 4 millimeter EVA foam, and I just used a silver craft metallic marker. I actually got this from Dollar Tree and it holds up really well. I made 2 because we are making 2 hats. I then grabbed my COS-TOOLS box cutter and cut them out with that. Just remember that foam can dull your blade incredibly quickly, so get a sharpener for it. It's better to get a sharpener for your blades than have to replace them all the time, because they will dull literally in the middle of your build. Though I will say COS-TOOLS blades are extremely sharp, cut extremely well, and do come with replacement blades. After cutting these out, I did end up rounding the edges a little bit with my Dremel rotary tool and a sanding bit. Now with our cutout EVA foam, the next step is to use our heat gun on the foam and fold it according to the template. I took my time when it came to getting the seams to line up, and then I heat formed the top. I taped it until I was ready to glue. Heat the foam up with the heat gun, then fold your EVA foam into the shape that you want it to be. After it's cooled, it will keep that shape. No, a hairdryer will not work, it doesn't get hot enough. Just be careful not to burn your fingers and not to burn your foam, because you can burn the foam. Here I was trying to give the brim of the hat a floppy sort of look to fit the aesthetic of the show. I also pinched the sides to mimic folded fabric. EVA foam is actually really good at mimicking fabric. After heating up the inside and the outside of the hat, I formed it to better sit on the head. This is when you want to have a mannequin to better form it on. I don't have one, so I just used my hands. This is where the gluing process begins. As you can see, I have it taped together until everything is glued. I start with the tip, trying my best, pushing everything together and working my way down slowly. I work in sections little by little and untape as I go. Normally you would use contact cement, but Surebonder is a very strong hot glue. Hot glue does limit how much heat forming you can do and how much stress you can put on your prop though. I take my time gluing together the seams and lining them up. I then bend down the flap of the hat and glue it to the bottom of the hat. Before gluing on the rest of the details, I use this 1 millimeter foam to make little detailed straps. I'll need 2 for the front, 1 for the back. For 2 hats, this means I have to cut out 6 total. I like to use my little X-Acto knife to cut out smaller details like this. With it all cut out, now it's time to attach everything. Starting with the straps on the front. I started sort of under the hat, then kind of looped around to the front. You won't find these straps on a traditional nurse's hat, but I thought they would add character. Before doing the other front strap, I did the back one. The back one mainly serves the purpose of covering up the seam. It will also cover up the seam and connect the back of the hat together. I ended up putting the strap on a little bit crooked, so all I did was heat up the glue again with the tip of my hot glue gun, while being careful not to burn the foam due to having the temperature all the way up. Then I simply repositioned it. I overlapped the strap onto the back of the tip of the hat. Then for the last strap on the front. As you can see, I messed up and left some webbing, and that is my least favorite part about using hot glue. Now remember the crosses we cut out? Time to glue those on the front. using our marked lines as a guide. Now for some added detail on those straps. I used foam clay from the FOAMORY. First I kneaded it a little bit, then cut it up into smaller pieces, then rolled those pieces into even smaller circles, making tiny snaps to go on the ends of my straps. On armor these would be rivets, but I think on these would be snaps. If you want perfect circles, this clay does go inside silicone molds, but rolling them with your hands works too. The best part is no glue is needed to stick the foam clay to the foam. All you need is a little bit of water. I just dipped my finger in the water, rubbed it on the foam, and then stuck my piece of foam clay on there and kind of pushed it in there a little bit. I feathered out the sides just a little bit so it would stick better, but not too much because I didn't want it to look organic. I did this for all the straps, front and back. While silicone tools work great for sculpting foam clay, nothing beats sculpting with your fingers when it comes to small spots. All in all, I really like this extra level of detail. With the hat put together and our pieces glued on, it's time to move on to paint. Before I begin, I want to move my cutting mat and tape down some craft paper, just to protect my desk for the most part. Next, I'll be using white acrylic paint for the base coat. I just use cheap apple barrel paints. These are the little $1 bottles you can find at like Walmart. I'm applying it with a 1-inch mop brush. Using a mop brush for the base coat is good because the bristles really get in everywhere, and it can apply a lot of paint at once, which is basically what I want. I'm just slapping it on there. There were areas the mop brush didn't reach. For that, I used filbert brushes in sizes 4 and 3. I then did several more layers in a 1-inch flat brush. Due to my dumb decision not to seal these, I had to do many layers. Always seal your props. I then used painter's tape to block off where I wanted to put the decorative blue line. Take your time with this process. In the words of Adam Savage, you can never mask too much. I then used Atlantis and white and mixed them together. This made a very hospital blue that I painted on the hat. Using a filbert number 4 brush, I painted the stripe on. Because I wasn't patient with my masking, the tape was only semi-helpful, and I had to go back later with a filbert number 3 brush and fix all the details, painting with white over some of the mistakes. Using a filbert number 11 brush, I painted the cross thread. These are not heavy body acrylics, therefore it took several layers to apply for it not to look pink. Of course, sealing your prop before painting can also help with this, but I was on a time crunch. Then I used just a little bit of silver. This is for the snap details on the straps. I used the smallest detail brush I could possibly find. I felt like the straps were blending in too much, so I felt like I needed to add something. Using a charcoal pencil, I shaded on and around the straps, blending it out with a drawing stump. This gave it a nice weathered look. With the hat basically finished, I realized there was a slight problem. How will they stay on the actors? Back in the day, they were pinned on the hair. However, there will be no time to do this during the show. This was a last-minute project, so I really had to think on my toes. So I thought an elastic band, but I didn't have time to go out and buy elastic. So after looking around my workshop, I decided to improvise and use this dust mask. Don't worry, I do have a backup dust mask. After removing this elastic string from the mask, I then measured and marked where I wanted the strings to go on the hat. Then I used my X-Acto knife to puncture little holes for the string to go through. It was a little difficult to get the string through, so I guided it through with my X-Acto knife. Be very careful when you're doing this. I then added small dots of hot glue both on the underside of the hat and the upper side of the hat I then used the tip of my X-Acto knife to press the string down until the glue cooled. Well, that was it. I hope you enjoyed the build. And I hope they worked out well for the show. Stay up to date on future shows with ClownLife Arts on Instagram and Facebook at ClownLife Arts. And special thanks to Jimmy DeRay, Laura Poole, the FOAMORY, and you for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. If you really like the video, feel free to share. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.